Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to review the Silverblood Promise by James Logan. This is book one in the Last Legacy series, and it's due for release May 2024. I wish I'd enjoyed this book more than I did. There were some really good scenes early on that had me kind of bouncing with excitement, like, oh, I'm really eager to read more. But a lot of the fun elements that were introduced early on weren't really expanded on later. Like, it kind of felt like a promise unfulfilled. There were a couple of fun things, and I thought, oh, we're definitely going to see that evolve. We're going to see more with that. But the story took a different direction, and we never really revisited it. It made me wonder if maybe there were too many good ideas and not enough integration into the plot to justify all of them being there. The book is marketed as like perfect for fans of Scott Lynch, Joe Abercrombie, Nicholas Eames, three authors of which I personally love for their incredibly strong, distinctive writing voices. Like, when you pick up an Abercrombie book, you know who you're reading. And they're also known for those brilliant splashes of dark yet dry humor. It's my favorite part about them. Neither of those things I found in Silverblood Promise. It wasn't particularly funny. The writing voice was not distinctive or witty. And so, for me, it read more like Theft of Swords by Sullivan. Like an entertaining read, a lot of action and engagement, but not particularly distinctive. And same thing with like the Night Angel trilogy by Brent Weeks. I know big names are meant to capture a lot of attention, and the whole point is to get people to pick up the book in the first place, but I feel like it was just a tad misleading in this instance. Honestly, the thing that threw me off the most, the book read more like a mystery set in a fantasy world than a fantasy with mystery components. And because most of the entire book was about this mystery, I feel like it needed to be a better mystery. There were too many conveniently placed pieces to the puzzle, too many thinly veiled setups, and frankly, maybe a little too easy to figure out what's really going on. And on top of all of that, I felt the character, he wasn't particularly clever or suave. And so he's getting himself into these situations where he's kind of bumbling around, and his success seems more due to luck than it does because of his own personal skill. Though with all the mistakes he made, it made the whole thing seem really implausible, like really hard to believe. So I struggled with that. And unfortunately, once I start getting dissatisfied with something, I start kind of nitpicking and noticing all the flaws. And there was a particularly weird one near the end. So this is a single POV story focused on one character. Near the end, there are two additional POVs that just kind of pop out of nowhere. And it's almost as if the main character is no longer relevant. He is no longer having the most interesting things happening to him, ergo kills the momentum of his story totally in favor of a couple of random scenes. I wish he had been written closer to the action. The moral of the story is, what started out with a bang turned into a real struggle for me to finish. Just looking at a couple of the early reader reviews on Goodreads, I'm in the minority. This currently has a 4.42 star rating, with some really hyped reviews so far. And the things that bothered me don't seem to be phasing the other readers at all. So my recommendation is, if you're excited to read it, probably still pick it up. You may not be as cranky as I am, and let me know what you think if you do read it. But all said and done, I'm landing at a 2.5 out of 5 stars, and I don't have any current plans to pick up the next one. Let's talk about other books you might like. And I mentioned Theft of Swords, and honestly, if you take just one of those duos and write like a backstory on them, it's kind of what I feel like I got here. It's like a fun, engaging story, doesn't have a lot of depth, but the setting vibes were very similar for me as well. And when it comes to like the magic and the underground politicking and a little bit of the mystery, that's why Night Angel, Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks came to mind also. The writing styles between the two struck me as similar. And I think Silverblood Promise had a few more modern, exciting twists and ideas to the story, but they're both kind of in the same vein. And also, Rewrite the Storm by Devin Madsen. This is book one of the Reborn Empire. This is one that didn't land for me as well, and probably because of a lot of the similar components. And so if you really liked this one, you might like Silverblood Promise a little more than I did. I did find a lot. This is a multi-POV one, and I think where Logan is going with the story kind of is reminiscent of what I read in here. But if you take a few things of Silverblood Promise and kind of, I don't know, expand on it a little bit, The Will of the Many. There's an arena setting and this really cool pyramid game introduced at the beginning of Silverblood Promise. And if you loved that and wanted more of that like I did, read The Will of the Many by James Islington. Like, it takes that one element and just expands on it to a huge degree. This is one of the best books I've read. It's so good. And also Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham, book 1 in the Kithamar series. Silverblood Promise has kind of a character-driven, relatively slow burn setting. If you liked the idea of the city and the cultural building that he was trying to do in there, but want something expanded on even more, nobody does it better than Daniel Abraham in Age of Ash. In a way, some of the things I did appreciate about Silverblood Promise, but done in a way I liked a little more. That wraps it up. I want to take a minute to thank my patrons. Thank you so much for all of your time and support and love. You are the wind beneath my wings. I say it all the time, but you really do make my reading experiences so much more enjoyable, and I have no idea where the state of the channel would be without you, so thank you. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.